illustrious blimps, we had to construct a number of other radar stations. We had constructed radar station 501 close to Marshall over here. We had constructed 504 up here at Dingley Cliffs again. Now Dingley Cliffs is the highest point of the Maltese Islands, and 504 is still being used in conjunction with the international airport to this day. These radar stations at Dingley Cliffs gave us vision of around 140 kilometers radius. So we had vision going all the way up into Comiso and Ragusa in Sicily. The only problem with these radar stations at Dingley Cliffs is that they could not pick up low altitude aircraft. Funny enough, because of the number of churches we have dotted around the island, your radar gets bounced back. So we had to construct radar stations on the northeastern coast of Malta that will focus on low altitude aircraft, shipping, and to a certain extent, even enemy submarines. So once your radar picks up an incoming raid, once that raid will eventually reach this sector over here, between 2 and 3, that is when the air raid sirens are sounded off. And that is when naturally the Maltese population would rush down to their numerous shelters. It's also at this point in time over here, between 2 and 3, that the duties of the spotters or the Royal Observer Corps would become incredibly important and incredibly evident. Radar technology at the time was at its infancy, so it wouldn't give you a lot of information other than something is coming your way. As a result, we had teams of spotters, that being teams of 2, stationed all around the island. These spotters would use an apparatus we call a microflight height corrector. And by using this microflight height corrector, spotters who were incredibly well trained would be able to determine the type of incoming enemy aircraft, the number of incoming enemy aircraft, and most importantly, the altitude of incoming enemy aircraft. So they give you a lot more credibility with which you can conduct your defense. Now the war in Malta begins itself on the 11th of June of 1940. That is a day after Mussolini declares war on Great Britain and France. Just so you get a bit of an idea of what we started out with, for the first 3 weeks or so of siege, all we had on the island to defend ourselves with against the might of the Italian Air Force were around 40 anti-aircraft weapons and 3 Gloucester Gladiator biplanes that were functioning. We had boxes for 7, but we didn't have enough parts. So at any given time, we could only have 3 ancient aircraft up in the sky combating the might of the fascist Italian Air Force. Now, in these first 3 weeks of siege, these 3 biplanes managed to shoot down around 14 Italian aircraft, which isn't a tremendous number. But for the Maltese population, especially at the time, watching these dogfights going on over the skies of Malta and seeing the occasional Allied victory, it was a tremendous morale booster. To the extent where the Maltese population nicknamed these 3 entities as being faith, hope, and charity, and they have gone down in our Maltese history as something of legend. In fact, as we've noticed, every Maltese person knows what we say when we mean faith, hope, and charity. It is something truly integral to Maltese history in the Second World War. A big, big myth. From June to December of 1948, it's only Italian aircraft conducting raids over the Maltese Islands. The Italians would maintain a very high altitude usually when flying over the island of Malta, and they would drop their bombs from a high altitude, which meant that a large number of their bombs would miss their targets completely. The reason behind this sort of lackluster bombing campaign by the Italians is primarily twofold. Firstly, fascist Italy simply wasn't as prepared for war as Mussolini thought she was, and secondly, we also have to take into consideration the fact that Malta and Italy, and especially Malta and Sicily, have a very strong, long historic and cultural tie, dating back to the times before the Order of St. John. The Maltese language is in fact Sicilio-Arabic. So for Sicilians especially, conducting air raids over the Maltese Islands at the time, it's sort of like bombing your own cousin. And in many cases that would have been the reality of the situation. You would have had Sicilian airmen having Maltese relatives. We had no such ties and no such connections with Nazi Germany, so when the Luftwaffe arrives on the skies of Malta in January of 1941, the Luftwaffe are efficient, they are brutal, and they ensure that they get their targets regardless of civilian casualties. That is when the siege for Malta takes a turn to the worse. Throughout all of this, from 1940 to 1942, and the brutality and the extent of the siege of Malta, the Lascaux swarms were still being built. They come into operations, as I say, in 1943, but we down here feel we should explain to you what was going on the island of Malta at the time. The Lascaux swarms themselves were top secret war rooms. To work down here in 1943, you would have to sign a 50-year Secrecy Act, and you'd have to abide by that Secrecy Act as if your life depended on it. We are going to walk through each and every sector of the complex this afternoon. That would have been impossible in 1943. There would have been iron doors dividing each sector of the complex. So if you used to work in the filter room over here, your only point of entry and exit would be that door behind us. You'd have access to your duties at the filter room, and you also have access to a restroom. Apart from that, you have access to nothing else, and you have no idea what is going on behind these iron doors to ensure that the secrets that are being kept down here in regards to the invasion of Sicily would not leak out. For communication purposes, because naturally rooms did need to communicate with one another, your filter room needs to pass information to your sector operations room. If you look beneath you on the floor, just at the foot of the map over here, you will see wooden floorboards. These are telephone lines running throughout the complex, as I say, vital for communication between sector and sector. We're now going to walk on to the sector operations room. As we walk through the sector operations room, we're going to walk past two small sectors. We're going to walk past the restroom. What you have to notice in the restroom is two things. Number one, the three incredibly uncomfortable looking bunk beds that were down here at the time. As soon as you pass the bunk beds on your immediate right, you see a slab of concrete. That concrete is in place of where an iron door would have stood in 1943, dividing the filter sector of the Lascaux wards from the rest. Then we're going to move into the communication center. The communication center is the smallest bit of the complex. I do suggest coming to have a look at it afterwards on your own. What you'll notice are some telephone booths and 3 individual mobile switchboards. They're lovely to have a look at. I do suggest looking at them afterwards and taking photos of them. Okay? Do we have any questions at this time? Okay, so just